I think when it's on policy, I have absolutely no problem. But what I've found in this campaign is something that's much more personal. When people start to call into question your integrity, your honesty, that I think is enormously hurtful and is actually quite hard to deal with. I mean, I've pledged to fight a clean campaign. I'm not going to fight back on those terms. But I do find it immensely hurtful that somebody is basically spreading untruths and presumably know that, for example, and it's really hard to deal with, actually. It makes me feel both angry, but also really sad as well that's what politics so often comes down to. You know, why can't we keep it on the issues? You know, there are plenty of issues we can be disagreeing about in a very constructive way, without kind of descending into that kind of really unpleasant mudslinging that is hurtful and is in itself dishonest too. I mean, I hope that the stress in modern days on being the most slick performer, I think that can be dangerous, and perhaps over recent months people are beginning to make a distinction to recognise that, you know, the slickest performer isn't necessarily the politician with the most integrity. I was really interested to look at some of the coverage of Michael Foot's passing away. You know, I remember the time when Michael Foot was out there in his donkey jacket and everybody was being so, you know, so critical of him. And yet now, looking back on it, they're all saying, you know, what a man of integrity. He was so eloquent, he was so articulate, he really believed in ideas. You know, in a sense that you just get the sense that so many politicians today don't really actually believe in a really, you know, deep way what they're doing. They're in it for a job, and as soon as they're, you know, coming to the end of their term, they're looking at what consultancy they can do for which big business to get yet more money. I don't think that's really what politics ought to be about. No, I think there certainly is an importance in staking a claim as a woman candidate, partly because Westminster is essentially a group of men in grey suits behind closed doors making decisions that nobody really fully, you know, is able to follow in a transparent way. And we have a parliament that simply doesn't represent society at large, how society looks. I think that matters enormously. It means that issues like childcare, like proper wages for women, where there's still that discrimination in terms of a gender pay gap, those things aren't taken nearly as seriously as they should be, violence against women being another case. So it is enormously important to me to be there as a woman in politics, as the one-woman leader, actually, of one of the parties at the moment. That is very important, and what I want is for people to take that seriously, to recognise that, rather than to be distracted by discussions about what women are wearing or what they're looking like. I think Brighton has a tremendous sense of community. That's one of the things I love about it. There are so many really strong community groups, but then also just the different bits of Brighton have their own special sense of community about them too. So it's a very easy city to feel at home in, I think. I love its vibrancy and the kind of just the energy of the place. The beauty of being down by the sea or then so easily being able to get up to the Downs is fantastic. I love things that from the outside aren't what they appear. So, for example, the Phoenix Art Gallery, you know, from the outside it just looks like a Sixties office block, actually, and does need some renovation. But when you go in, it's a really fantastic space, a beautiful space that gets used by all different groups in the community to display their art. And it's a lovely space to be in. Brighton is an amazing place in the sense that people here are just so sort of politically savvy, they're very politically literate, they enjoy their politics, you know, and I get a real sense that Brighton likes to see itself in the vanguard of change, and that, you know, if they were to elect the first Green MP, for example, I think that would be an amazing thing, because I think they are the ones who kind of get it in a sense, you know, they understand that we need some fresh voices in Parliament, that the other parties simply aren't addressing lots of the key issues today.